Let your house be a meeting place for the rabbi, and cover yourself in the dust of their feet, and drink their words thirstily. This is a statement attributed to Jose ben Yoza, a rabbi in the 2nd century BC. Some scholars think cover yourself in the dust referred to the dirt that would inevitably get on the disciples' clothes from sitting at a teacher's feet for hours on end. Others argue that it referred to following the rabbi over dusty road for days at a time, getting as close as one could to not miss a word. Either way, it was a blessing of proximity, of being so close to the rabbi that the disciple got dusty. This is an epigraph from the book called Practicing the Way by John McComa. The reason why I chose this book for review is it's one of the most fun reads I've had in a while, and because it's very practical in reading and application. And it's not just practical because I say so, it's practical because there are resources to support the things that it's easy to do. It's also one of the books that I've read from cover to cover in a while. I typically read and pick at different sections of books or go back to them when something sparks my interest and just pick a section. I don't really read books end to end, but this is one of the books that I've read end to end in recent time because I was eager to get to the practicality of it. Let's get through this theory and let's start applying this stuff. And I think this is one of the reasons why many people should get it. So I'll be sharing a quick summary of the book, some key takeaways, my favorite quotes or sections in the book, who should read this book, and why they or you should read this book. Hopefully all of this will spark your interest in going to get this book and also reading it and applying it for yourself. So this book explores Christian discipleship through spiritual practices that help people live more like Jesus in their daily lives. When you talk about Christian discipleship, for me, the first verse that comes to mind is Acts chapter 2, verse 42. I'll quickly read it. And it says, "And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayers, and all came upon every soul. And many wonders and signs were done through the disciples. And all who lived were together and had all things in common." That's what comes to mind when I think about disciple or discipleship, because that's kind of the first intro that we had to the disciples after Jesus died, came back, and then he ascended to heaven. This book explores that in detail and also talks about faith not just being about beliefs or affiliations or associations or identification, but becoming more like Christ by incorporating some of these spiritual disciplines into every area of our lives to enable that purpose of Christian discipleship. Now, it encourages users to slow down, simplify our lives, adopt more intentional lifestyles grounded in practices. There are 9 practices that this book emphasizes, and there are other resources to support the book as well. There are 3 main goals that this book centers around. The first goal is be with Christ. The second goal is becoming like Christ. And the third goal is doing as he did. Some key takeaways and insights that I have from the book. The first thing is discipleship is not the same as Christianity. Very early in the book, we get introduced to the concept of having created this culture where one can be a Christian and not a disciple. In the Western world, for example, a Christian is someone who identifies with the beliefs of Jesus Christ, and occasionally they go to church. In some parts of the world, it's a Democrat and a Republic thing, but it's a form of identification in the general sense. But John McComa emphasizes in this book that what we are called to be is disciple, not just Christian. And there's a difference, not necessarily about wordsmithing. He also points to the fact that the word Christian was only mentioned 3 times in the New Testament. But guess how many times the word disciple was mentioned? 269 times in the New Testament. That means the word disciple must mean something. That's really what we are called to be. That's really the ethos around discipleship, not just Christianity. And it's also as a result of the way our society has framed Christianity. Like, I can just get in, and at the end of the day, if I make it to heaven, then kudos to me. But there's life to be lived here on earth, which is about being with Christ while we're here, becoming like Christ while we're here, and doing as he did while we are still here. The second key takeaway I have from this book is whether you like it or not, whether you choose to admit it or not, whether you recognize it or not, everybody is being formed by something, and everybody is being formed into something. The difference is you have a choice to decide what forms you and what you are being formed into. But if you decide that nothing is influencing you, you are a self-led, self-taught, free spirit human being, you are being formed. The difference is you just don't admit it, or you just don't know. So you might as well have a choice over the things that are forming you and what they are forming you into. So that's one of these second and key takeaways that I have from this book. I'm not going to give away so much. I hope you're able to read this book. But I have a couple of favorite quotes as well that I'm going to share, which hopefully would also spark your interest. This is one of them. People have come to me actually bitter because their former pastors did not disciple them. What they usually mean is that these pastors didn't spend one-on-one time with them. While I'm all for pastors giving their time to foster people's growth in Jesus, I would argue that you can't disciple somebody any more than you can Christian them, believer them, or follower them. Please hear me. These are not just semantics. Language matters. Here is why. If a disciple is something that is done to you, like a verb, that puts the onus of responsibility for your spiritual formation on somebody else, like your pastor, your church, or your mentor. But if disciple is a noun, which it is, if it's someone you are or are not, then no one can disciple you but the Rabbi Jesus himself. That's interesting. Another quote which I love from the book is this. When we offer hospitality, we get to embody the heart posture of the Trinity's inner life. Welcome, invitation, warm affection, generosity, provision, safety, community, comfort, the meeting of needs, delight, and shared joy. And when we act like God, we get to feel like God, to share his joy. I really love these two quotes because the first emphasizes the importance of self-accountability and ownership of your Christian journey. You know, a lot of people leave churches or leave church leaders, or there's no discipleship in that church. Take responsibility for your spiritual discipleship. No one can disciple you any more than the person that you're supposed to be like, that you're supposed to do like. So spending time with Christ is the ultimate way to be a disciple. And then the second quote is about how we are supposed to think about the things that we do and the opportunities that we create to actually do the things that Christ did. The welcome, the affection, generosity, those things that help us to do the things that Jesus did and be Christ to other people. And ultimately, us doing those things eventually makes us like Christ. Thinking outside of yourself, not just within the context of me, self-care, self-help, all those things. So those are the main quotes that I really enjoyed from the book. Who should be reading this book? I've grouped this into about 4 major categories of people. The first category is every Christian that is desiring a deeper discipleship and relationship with Christ. If you are looking to go beyond the Sunday church worship, the midweek service, and you want to live out your faith practically. We've not talked about the practicality yet. I'm getting to it. Especially if you've been playing on the sidelines for a while and you want a more affectionate relationship with Jesus Christ and be a follower of Christ. This book is meant for you. The other category of people that I believe this book is meant for is young adults and professionals. You don't necessarily need to desire a deeper relationship. That is what it should be. But you're young and you're a professional. You have a lot going on in your life because people are feeling worn out by business, by work, tech, social media, so many distractions. And you'll find this message refreshing and grounding. So I think a lot of young professionals and young adults would benefit from the practices that I encourage in this book. Other people that I think will benefit from it, if you're a group leader or small group leader or a community leader, you definitely should consider this book in encouraging your community and helping them to be disciples. I really got this book from my church, honestly. It was one of the books that the church had caught my attention, and they had like small group sessions around it. So if you're a community leader or a small group leader, this would be a very good resource for your community or your small group. And I I think the last category of people that will benefit from this is new converts. Honestly, at this point of reading this book, my thought process is that people should actually be converted into disciples and not just converted into Christianity. This idea that you become a Christian and then being a disciple is optional. I don't think that that should be the case with conversion. People should be converted into being disciples. There's no reason why people should spend 10, 15, 20 years of their life just being bench warmers in the church without actually exercising the practicality of what it means to actually be like Christ. So those are people. It may seem like too much, but if you're converting into a new faith that you don't know what it's about, I don't even think it will be too much. It will just be what this faith experience will be like for you. So I think newcomers will also benefit from reading this book as well. Once they get into it, they kind of get the ethos around, look, we're here for business, we're here for practical, spending time with Jesus Christ and being like Jesus Christ. I keep talking about this practicality, but let me break it down to you. I mentioned earlier that 9 practices that John Makoma emphasizes in this book. And they have an online resource. I've linked it in the description box where you can go create a profile. But they have guides. They have some spiritual audit that you can take to kind of assess where you're at in the areas of some of these 9 practices. They have rules of life. You can build a rule of life that shows some of the daily, weekly, and monthly practices that you want to incorporate in your life. They have so many resources by which you can assess where am I right now with my spiritual discipline and what are the things that I need to do. And you can keep going back there to assess yourself and see how you're progressing. It's not just a book. There's a lot more that comes along with the book. I go through the rule of life that I created for myself every few days. And I'm like, okay, I want to add something. I want to take something out. I'm more intentional. I'm more conscious about, okay, these are the things I said I want to do on a daily basis according to my life. Am I really doing that? When I'm doing things like hosting or entertaining people, I don't see it as an extra burden anymore. I see it as, oh, these are the practical things that I want to do to actually be like Christ, to involve my community in my faith. So those are some of the things that has helped me to do, to also put some meaning behind the things that we do. You know, sometimes you do things every day and it seems like there was a point of this. Maybe you help your neighbor do things, you call your friends. It just looks like some of the things that you have to do business as usual. This book helped me put purpose behind some of those things to understand that I'm not just hosting my friends because I have food at home and I want to spend time with them. I see like I'm doing what Christ will do because these are the practices that help me build community. It's really practical in that way. So I've linked the Practicing the Way resources and portal in the description box. If you go through it and sign up, you get access to all their resources. You see all the 9 practices. You understand why, and they have elaborate details about how you do those practices and incorporate them in your everyday life. These days, the world is so full of isolation. The presence of social media makes people think that, oh, yeah, you're connected with people, you are social. But like, a lot of people have anxiety, a lot of people are lonely. But this book helps you be more conscious about community. Our faith is based off of unity and community with the body of Christ. Especially if you're someone like me that you are not naturally disposed to community and social group. You could be in isolation, chilling, and all fine by yourself, but you need to make intentional efforts to be in community, to contribute to community and grow your community. So that's a +1 for the book as well. I hope you find this book a valuable resource in your library. There are other books by the author, which I'm also looking to read. It's also in the pages of the book. Other books by John Makoma. There's My Name is Hope, Loveology, Garden City, God Has a Name, The Ruthless Elimination of Ori, and Leave No Lies. I've heard about the ruthless elimination of Ori before learning about Practicing the Way. And I believe that's the next one that I want to get my hands on because it seems like it's going to complement this one that talks about the spiritual practices and how to make intentional decisions. So I'm all for that. And I might be a very hurried person, which I'm trying to work on. So, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you get it. If you're able to get this book or if you got it and you love it, feel free to drop in the comment section. Let me know. Let's have a cup of tea and gist about the book again. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.